Two things. There was an English poet who lived between 1685 and 1744 by the name of Alexander Pope. And he made a statement which we often quote today, although we quote it a bit incorrectly, because he said, "A little knowledge is a dangerous thing." It's really, the quote is really, "A little learning is a dangerous thing." Drink deep, or not at all, from the Parian spring. Now, the Parian spring is a Greek mythology term which really refers to the so-called fountain or the source of knowledge of the arts and sciences. Drink deep, or not at all. If you look at the world, there's a lot of people who don't drink very deep from this fountain. And people do things because they have so little knowledge of what they speak and what they do. Social media is ripe with people who take something which is said or put on there and run with it in a way which is not right. Ended up being bullying, ended up with some kind of social or some kind of interaction which is derogatory to some other person because they run with something which they take as one little piece of information when they shouldn't. Governments do it all the time. We're rife with knowledge and with data, information, but is often not used in a very knowledgeable way. And as a result, the world is in the situation it is. People do say things they would not ordinarily do because they know just a little bit about something. And as a result, scammers take advantage of all sorts of people because they have an idea that this person's knowledge is so minimal that they'll do anything. The scammers pretending to be from Internal Revenue is one of the classic ones because the people get so scared of what is being said or threatened to them that they'll do almost anything to avoid the so-called punishment that is coming. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And in all sorts of ways, we end up being deceived. Now, this was brought up in the Bible centuries ago because it mentions again about the need to know things fully. It says in Ephesians that not to drink or not to eat from the Word or not to devour the Word as if you're a child, but to fully divulge it, fully devour it. Don't be satisfied with the milk of the Word, but devour it with the meat of what the Word really says. If not, you end up being deceived. You end up being led down the garden path by all sorts of people who will deceive you and lead you in the wrong direction. Hebrews 5 also gives us one of the 5 warnings in the book of Hebrews about needing to learn the Word completely and fully, because if not, you are again like children, just eating or drinking the milk of the Word and not the whole thing. It is important to understand that we are here to understand and to learn from this Word the entirety of it, not just our superficiality that many people take. Many people say that it's okay, I believe in God, I'm going to heaven, that's all there is to it. Unfortunately, that's not all there is to it. If you have a Bible, look up the book of Luke, chapter 12 for a minute. Because this is a parable about a master and his servants. And because they're servants of the master, they know who the master is. So they're not people who are unfamiliar with the Master. They're not people who are not familiar with God, because that's what the parable is about. And it says, be not. I lost it here.
Spencer, say where you are, please.
35 to 48. Chapter 30, chapter 12, starting at verse 35. And be yourselves like men looking for their Lord, when he shall return from the marriage feast, that when he comes and knocks, they may straightway open unto him. Blessed are those servants. Lost it again. Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he comes, shall find watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself, and make them sit down to meat, and shall come and serve them. And if he shall come in the second watch, and if in the third, and find them so blessed are those servants, because they're still watching and waiting. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what hour the thief was coming, he would have watched, and not have left his house to be broken through. Be you also ready, for in an hour that you think not, the Son of Man comes. Peter said, Lord, speak you this parable unto us, or even unto all. And the Lord said, who then is the faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall set over the household, to give them their portion of food in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he comes, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will set him over all that he has. So anyway, what he's saying is that if we are ready and waiting, when God comes again, when Christ comes again, he will honor us, because we're ready for him.
Yes.
And this is what I say, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, because people don't accept what the Bible says about the warnings of Christ coming. But if that servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delays his coming, and then shall begin to beat his fellow servants, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he expects him not to, and in an hour when he knows not, and he shall be cut asunder, and appointed his position with the unfaithful. But bear in mind, these are people who know the Master. These are people who know Christ. Okay, they're not people who do not know anything. And that servant, who knew his Lord's will, and made not ready, and did not do according to his will, shall be beaten with many. But he that knew not, and did things worthy of stripes or beatings, shall be beaten with few stripes. Whomsoever much is given, of them shall much be required. And to whom they commit much, of him will they ask the more. You see, if someone never heard of Christ, never heard of the Gospels, never heard of this, when Christ comes, there may be some punishment, but it's going to be much less than to those of us who knew and had the word and had the message and paid no attention to it. Bear in mind, these are not people who do not know God completely, but these are people who are servants of the Master,
Yes.
to whom much is given, much is required. To those who know nothing, punishment will be light. To those who should know a lot, punishment may be more, if we're not waiting and watching when he comes. It's not just a matter of knowing God, It's of knowing what he says and doing what he requests.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes.
A little learning can be a dangerous thing. A little knowledge can be even so the more. Just something to think about.